Frontline with Courtney Kenny, and I'm Tom Parisi, and today we got a great set of guests. It's a special episode of the Frontline podcast for two reasons. One, it's kind of preemptive, and two, a special friend of the show, Adam Dennis, is going to rejoin us. We're not talking about a happy subject, though, Adam, GM of the North Bay Battalion. We're talking about the cancellation of the season. How did you guys react to it, and how the players dealing with it so far?
Well, I mean, to be totally honest, I think it's been the main thing in all of our staff and our players' life. It's been kind of at the forefront of are we going to play for the last 14 months? So I think the kids by now were watching the news. They were following the numbers. They were hearing what was said on social media. And I think a lot of them were expecting it. I mean, we do appreciate that the league was fighting so hard for us to get back and have some games. And it stinks, there's no way around it, especially if you're a player right now. You're so used to, like I've said this before, you're so used to being told where to go, what to do, that, now it's out of your control and you can't really do anything about it. You can't work harder to get back on the ice at this point. It's so, it's been a long time, even back until our season got canceled and we were making that last playoff push. We were trying to get in the playoffs. So we were still telling the guys to stay ready. So it's been mentally draining for sure. So if there is a silver lining, it's that there is some closure now that we have and we can direct our attention to next season. And as a staff, we can really focus in on this upcoming draft, which is, by no means a normal one.
Last year, the focus was, of course, on some of the players that you knew weren't coming back again, that had their seasons cut out from them, like Bulika and Grima and all that stuff. This time around, it's pretty much, your captain, heart and soul of the team, Luke Moncato. Just what's your thoughts on him not getting a chance to finish out his OHL career and stuff like that?
Well, he's the first person you think about, of course, and up until he got the invite to go to Cleveland, we really thought about him, and it was something that you wanted him to get the chance more than anybody because his runway has run out. Now when we're flash forward to now, I feel a lot better of it, knowing that Luke's had the opportunity in Cleveland, and it's been rocky for him there. He's had bouts of quarantine and different things there, but he's been playing some great hockey lately, and I think that he's at least had the chance to show all the work that he's put in, and only the people really in North Bay know what strides that he took last year. I think he was the most improved player in the league. Yep. And I think he was continuing to go that way. So I'm glad he had this opportunity to show it in the American League and continue to show it. And I think he's done a really good job of showing what he can do at that next level so far. So hopefully somebody gives him a chance.
What about the rookies who maybe lost their first season?
Yeah, well, the nice thing for them is their careers are far from lost, and I think that there was some things that we were able to do that will break the tension for when they do come in next year. I know all of our 16-year-old guys, they've been on Zoom calls with Coach Houlihan, getting used to the systems, answering any of the questions that they have. We've done a lot of other team stuff, so I know I'm regularly hearing from guys like, hey, I ran into Tanias at a skate, or I saw Wakely here, and I've messaged Ty, so those are the really cool things that guys are starting to get to know each other. So, of course, everybody wanted to get on the ice and cut their teeth in that first year, even if it was just for 15, 20 games, but that's not a possibility right now. So the way that we really tried to explain it to our group was, this is going to happen at some point in your career, whether it's a lockout, whether it's a trade, you might get sent down to the minors, maybe it's an injury. The only silver lining is that everybody in the Ontario League is in this together. And, it's not easy, but I don't think it was a total loss for those 16-year-old guys. They did get some experience, and, we'll definitely approach our off season a little bit differently to give them a couple more opportunities to get comfortable.
You had a strong contingent of draft eligible players. If I miss anyone, my apologies. You have Verbetic, Jackson, Petrov, who of course got to play a season of the Twins, and all that stuff. How does this kind of impact them, especially since everything's up in the air with the NHL draft as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, those guys, they did play lots last year, so there is tape on them. I'm sure every single one of those kids, I know each of them, and the Ty Hollits of the world, all of our O3 guys, they really put in the time and energy to improve and prepare for this year. And the one thing for them is it's not like it's the only time that they're going to be seen. There's lots of video. I know that there's lots of efforts going on to try and get some sort of prospects tournament going for these draft eligible players. And the one thing we've been saying to them, whether you get drafted or not this year, for all of our guys, you're going to be back in North Bay next year. So really nothing changes from that standpoint. You got to be selfish about your own development. You got to bet on yourself. And you do that, you get lots of opportunities. And it's not to say that the teams aren't watching. We've got lots of calls on all of our guys. And I think that's a real positive. But for them, you can use any one of the members of our staff in one way or another that has been through it, and that they could see that the NHL draft it's special, but it's not the only way to make it. Bill Holder gave us a great stat, and I know he had a great episode with you guys last time. Regular, but he gave us a stat because I did talk to the coaches before I went to talk to the players, because I wanted to see what they would want to hear if their season got canceled. And Billy gave me this unbelievable stat. It's the NHL is made up of lots of players. 40% is first round pick, 16% is second round picks, but the next biggest grouping is undrafted free agents, which make up 12% of the NHL. So when you think about this, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. The draft, it's certainly nice to be recognized, and later on in life you could say you were drafted, but at the end of the day, it's far from the only way to get there. And I think you'll ask a lot of NHL teams that, they'd agree.
So what do you guys do next? What's the next steps in just running the team day to day at this point?
Well, we've, myself, John Winstanley, Charles Abbott, we've been really busy getting ready for this next draft, to be honest. And that hasn't stopped. That's been ongoing. We've done a ton of interviews trying to get to know some of these kids, lots of calls, lots of video, lots of Zoom. So we're going to continue on with that in our preparations. We have quite a few picks early on next year. So it's another big statement for our franchise of getting back on track and trying to win a championship. I think you build through the draft, and I feel like we've had some pretty good success in the last couple of years, and we want to build on that. I think it's really crucial. And the one thing that's been really nice is there's been a great reception for the town of North Bay and the program so far. And I think that's a credit to the kids that have shown, what we're going to be in the next few years. So there's exciting times ahead, and it's really tough now to digest. So we're going to take the week or two, and we're going to feel bad for ourselves a bit. But, the one thing that we're going to be sure of is we're going to have championship aspirations moving forward. And it's going to be a lot of fun to be in Memorial Gardens the next few years.
We'll probably talk to you again when it gets closer to whenever the draft is. But is there any rumblings, or do you have any idea of when that might be? I know you might not be able to tell us, but has there been talks on the draft front anyways?
There's been talks. I know that the league is going to announce something hopefully in the next couple of weeks. But we've certainly been working on this for a while. It's a strange year, so we're taking whatever we can get, whether it's video, whether it's practices, whether it's skill sessions. So we're definitely preparing for it, and that's what we're expecting for sure.
When it comes to, this is way too early speculation, of course, but when it comes to the roster that you might ice the next game, how tough is it going to be where you have 5 picks from this last draft that have been signed, and to try and integrate more high-end talent guys into the roster that already has, a lot of players?
Yeah, I mean, it's a better problem to have than not having enough players. But, certainly we're going to see how much work has been put in, and they're stressful to think about in the off season, but typically they all seem to work themselves out, and that's for the players' play. And it's our job to evaluate and see who's worked hard in the off season and see how things stack up. But certainly, it's going to be a great question to see, because it's going to be 14 to 18 months that we haven't seen some of these kids. We've obviously been keeping tabs on them, but you can do a lot in that time. You can add 20 pounds of muscle if you want. You can do the opposite too. So these kids I know have been putting in the work. So we're excited to see them all when we do get that chance again.
I know not everybody can take the news the same way. Some people probably deal with it different, but is there any maybe support for the kids, coaches, whoever, with the announcement of the cancellation?
Yeah, for sure. We work closely with the CMHA, so they're always available for our guys. The one thing that we did say too, though, is we told our guys, hey, you're allowed to feel upset about this. You know, you don't have to fake it. This stinks. And that's obvious, but, you know, we've got goals, we've got aspirations as a group. And you know, it's important that, you know, we do feel bad for ourselves for a bit and then we move on. Because, you know, I know these kids have worked really hard for a long period and they need a break. But, you know, life goes on. It's everyone's going to approach it differently. And then the other side of that is we made sure that every single one of our staff members is available. Because like I said, you know, I've had experience playing after junior. Every single one of them has. So we've gone through different things. I'm sure that Billy told a couple stories too that, you know, he's seen a lot. So if there's anything that we can do for the guys as well, then we're always available. And you know, guys have taken us up on it, which is certainly nice.
Of course, the focus is on, you know, a lot of these players losing their year of development, but how did the staff kind of take the news? I know you mentioned you talked to them and whatnot, but, you know, from the top end down, I'm sure it was a gut punch as well.
Yeah, well, like I said, we've been kind of waiting, just everything ready and then to push the button when they give us that go ahead. And that's been since, you know, March to come back for a playoff push. That's then pushed to September for the start of the regular season 2021. Then it got pushed to November, and then it got pushed again to December, then to February. And you know, I'll be honest, there's a small bit of relief, but there's a lot of disappointment and more for the players because we know how it feels when you're a teenager and you don't have that experience. So it's one thing for us to say it, but you know, it's tough for them to believe it not going through it yet. But there is a longer runway than they all think. And you know, as a staff, I think, you know, we've all gone through something. Like I've had two hip surgeries, 2 knee surgeries. Ryan's had a couple hip surgeries. You know, Razor's had teams that have folded on him. Billy's had teams that have gone through lockouts. And I think, did he say he got traded for a golf club too, or something like that? You know, there's a lot of experiences, and it's part of the game, unfortunately. But you know, when you look back at them, you know, we get to laugh at them kind of like this, and they are things that do make you stronger in the long run. So we're approaching it, you know, with our eyes wide open, and we're staying in the moment. We're feeling sad for a bit. We're going to be fine.
How excited are you to finally see the green and white back on the ice, though, eventually?
Oh, I'm very excited. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I can't tell you how many times I've put the roster together in my head, and I swear, I think my wife will be the most excited to get me back in the rink, to be honest with you, because I'm pretty sure I'm driving her nuts.
Fair enough, Adam. We really appreciate the time today. Of course, not a great subject, but it's always great to catch up with you.
No, it's always a pleasure, guys.
All right, friend of the show, Adam Dennis, we got to say a big thank you to come on and talk to us about, you know, not a very easy subject these days in these trying times, but hey, we make it work. So thanks to Ben Sargent for making us sound so fantastic. He's Courtney Kenny. I'm Tom Parisi. You can find us on YouTube. You can watch and see what part of my house I'm sitting in this time. Maybe Indy makes an appearance. You can see us on Spotify, or you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts as well, and catch us weeknights, 7:30, Your TV. If you're watching this on Your TV, this one's probably the appropriate length, but the other ones are edited. So you can go check us out elsewhere to find the full versions of our fantastic podcast called The Frontline. And as always, find us anywhere on social media when it comes to the North Bay Battalion. This was a lot of fun, even if the subject wasn't, but we should do it again sometime.